This is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with KDY TV, with another segment of Good Morning Oxnard. And we have another collaboration with one of my favorite people in the world, George Miller. And he's going to review some of the things that took place at the city meeting last night in Oxnard. So, George.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We did cover some other stuff on the city council, but a couple of different things. In addition of KADY Happy News, we'll start out with some good news first.
Always.
Last night, Philippe Marinas was honored as the Oxnard Employee of the Year.
Wow, that's quite a title.
And he really had an almost universal acclaim. Now, he's a custodian, right?
Okay, serving
But
hard.
he did such a good job, and he's so pleasant to everyone, and he causes so few problems, and that people said, hey, this is really the ideal employee. And when he got up to talk, he actually had a prepared speech. He said, you know, I just give it my all and be nice to people. And he had all of his fans there in the room, and then after he left, the room kind of emptied out and left all the hardcore city council watchers after that. People like me, right? I was sitting right next to Peggy Rivera, who was there to talk about homelessness, which is a serious problem. Oxnard and Ventura have most of the homeless people in the county living here with us. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that we're such beautiful cities, we're right on the ocean and have nice scenery and a good climate and stuff like that. But we unfortunately have to deal with the problem. And the homeless people fall into several categories. You know, some are mentally deficient, some are down on their luck. Some are criminals, some are just people that got caught in bad circumstances, divorces, losing jobs. A lot of homeless people are veterans. People come back from the wars and they just don't fit into society anymore. But the bottom line is, what do we do about them? Well, Peggy has some ideas, and she had a document with her from Community Action Group of Ventura County. I'll just briefly summarize what they're recommending. They're into a 10-year homelessness program right now. They did a 5-year, what they call recalibration or update on that program. And here's what they said they want to do. They want to urge the city council to move homelessness to a much higher priority, not surprisingly. They want to find any and all available land that could be used for low-income housing or shelters and try to secure that now for future needs. They'd like to streamline the city processes since it's so hard to get this done right now. It's very bureaucratic, different departments are involved. They'd like to see a quick reaction thing, similar to what they're doing for making it easier to start new businesses in the community. It's not a bureaucratic problem, right? And they want to urge support of a local shelter as well, and urge the county to make homeless a high priority for the housing authority, to make that part of their work as well. And finally, they want to urge the council to open its own discretionary funds up for services to include homelessness using Measure O money. Measure O money is a special sales tax increase that the voters imposed upon themselves back in 2007 or 2008. Now, interestingly enough, the council skipped a second reading of the homelessness city code update, decided not to do it last night, which tells you a little bit about their priorities for homelessness.
Well, it's amazing, George. I want to emphasize, I think it's the first time I've ever heard the categories of homeless, and I would agree with you. It's such a sensitive subject and such an important subject, but I was impressed that you actually gave it subcategories that you can prioritize.
Yeah.
And I won't go any further than that, but I thought that was
Sitting in
interesting.
the pews of city council, I get to talk to a lot of interesting people. I've talked to clergymen, I've talked to people like Dan Leckleiter, who's a neighborhood watch guy, who's gotten a lot of interest in homeless and told me about it. I've talked with Peggy Rivera, I've talked with Mr. Brown from the Ventura Homelessness operation, which actually Ventura and Oxnard share the funding for to pay for his salary. So I've learned a lot. And you know, each one of these groups has different solutions. There is no quote homeless solution. There's one thing: how do you deal with the veterans? What do you do with the people who are mentally ill? What do you do with people who are down on their luck? Each one requires a separate solution, and that's one thing I learned that I didn't know before.
That's amazing. In our culture, home has such an emotion to it.
It really does. A place you can call your own,
Right.
a place of refuge. And if you literally are living in a car, or worse yet, in a shack on the beach,
Right.
you don't have that.
A lot to be said on that one, George, and I don't want to say something non-politically, but I'm glad you're kind of breaking it down.
Into pieces. Okay. Next thing, Mayor Flynn, who was instrumental in planning a very good Veterans Day celebration last year, which we covered and is televised also, is now organizing next year's celebration. He wants to add a parade to that as well. He's looking for volunteers to help with that. So if anyone's interested, contact Mayor Flynn at City Hall to do that.
Now, is Tim actually wanting to improve it? Because this last year was actually, relatively speaking, I think I was right, the veteran parade they had, where they were talking about possibly improving.
Yes.
The great job they did.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. He wants to expand that. He also wants to set up an athletics commission.
Really?
We have several different citizen advisory groups, which I talked about last week, including the new Cultural Arts Commission. Now he wants to establish another one called the Athletics Commission to study establishing a sporting destination for Oxnard, which should be a private-public partnership. The idea being to make athletics more central to Oxnard, also attract people to come into the city to spend money at hotels and stuff like that, which seems like an interesting idea.
That is. I mean, just to build on this real quick, an athletics event that's attractive, that people
Exactly.
bring, you know.
Right.
I know money's evil, but hopefully it'll be something
Money's
that.
evil. Right.
But hopefully it'll be something that has
Yeah.
that component to it.
We have some interesting athletic stuff going on already. For those of you who watch Good Morning Oxnard regularly, remember that Oxnard is a venue for the annual PAL National Boxing Championships. That's big time stuff. It's held at the old high school, and I think there was something like 250 or 300 competitors last year. We even
That's
had Olympic champions visiting and stuff like that.
And we had a female boxer, I remember, who was quite the star.
Exactly, exactly. But the problem is this, I didn't even know about that till three of the boxers showed up at City Council just to make a little commercial for it. It's not very well publicized. I think publicity is a big portion
I
of
would
doing
agree.
that. We're gonna do our part as Citizens Journal to promote events like that
Yeah.
when we know about them, which is not all the time. Okay, what else? You've all heard about Obamacare and stuff like that. Well, California has its own Obamacare system, which is called Covered California, which you can find online. Problem is, most people have no idea how the hell it works. So what I recommend, those people who are really interested in getting coverage who don't have it now, go on down to Oxnard College on Saturday and Sunday between 10 and 3 p.m. at the Oxnard College Plaza Rooms, L14 to L16, and they will show you whether or not you're eligible for Obamacare, so bring information about your income and all that kind of stuff. Try to estimate what your premium would cost and even help you begin to sign up for it. If you have further questions, call 805-981-5212. That's 981-5212. Also, while we're on the subject of free stuff, if you're having trouble doing your taxes, you can get help for that too. And believe it or not, you just call 211. It's kind of like 911, but not quite as serious. And you call 211 and just say, you heard on Citizens Journal that you get free help with taxes, and you want to know how. And they will tell you.
Good service.
Yeah, which is great, okay? Also, I was told that Raymond Ramirez, a relatively well-known artist, at least in artistic circles, has a very interesting exhibition right now. It's still at the Carnegie Art Museum in downtown Oxnard. And finally, there's a motion in play to try to take Ormond Beach, which the city is gradually trying to make into a park, and ultimately convert it into a national wildlife reserve.
Interesting.
Which is big time. I've been to national wildlife reserves like Point Reyes up north of San Francisco, and having something like that down here would be fantastic. And of course, that would mean that we wouldn't pay for it either directly. It would be paid for by federal money indirectly, so it comes out of a different pocket. But those are just some of the things that went on in addition to what I have announced already. Do you have any other questions?
No, just with the wild, what did you call it?
Wildlife, National Wildlife Refuge.
My first thought was birds, what other things? I've seen there's a lion seal refuge up near Carpinteria.
Yes.
What would this entail? Fish?
Well, basically birds are a big thing there. We have over 200 species of birds that visit, either live there all year round or migratory, and most of them have been photographed by our caretaker down there. And if you go down there, he has an amazing scrapbook of photographs of the wildlife and can direct you to them and tell you what times of the year you can come, and encourages photography. There are 2 different universities working on wildlife programs too down there as well. But that's our claim to fame is birds.
No, and thanks for clarifying that. And you know what, I always get something out of your session, but I realize with Oxnard, since that's primarily who we're talking to right now, has, of the 3 counties, Oxnard, the city, it seems like it has the most amount of diversity.
Well, diversity in many ways. Diversity for people, for sure.
Exactly.
Diversity in incomes, for sure.
There you go.
Diversity in resources. For
Right.
example, how many cities do you live in that have their own 2 harbors, since Wainimi is directly adjacent, own oil wells, capacity to grow their own food, and their own industry? So it could almost be a self-contained.
How about their own security with naval base? Ventura?
That's right, they have their own naval base, right?
Let's create a fort.
Yeah, and by the way, Port Wainimi is the only deep water port between Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Isn't
It's
it
the
amazing?
4th largest port on the west
Yet,
coast.
how many people know how to get to it? You
It's
know?
very easy to get to, just kind of, we go up a few miles. You're there.
I love the sarcasm and all that. But you know, correct my perception, because when I compare, let's say, Santa Barbara County, which to me seems a lot of people on the high end living there, then a lot of on the opposite end, service-related people. I mean, when you actually stated, I think, on camera, off camera, that Oxnard has the lowest
It
income
was the lowest,
average.
actually the second lowest income in Ventura County, and one of the lower ones in the state.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara is higher, not because everyone's rich up there. 40% of the people
Please.
in Santa Barbara are poor. I've got news for you. Drive around once you get off State Street and go into
Exactly.
the area. It's not all rich.
Is it, again, the Pareto theory says 80-20, you know, the 80%.
It's a little
is
less
just like-
pronounced in Santa Barbara than it is in
Right,
Oxnard.
because my thought was 80% of the wealth is owned by 20% of the people, but this is where I need correction in my perception.
Yeah, well, roughly 30% of the people in California are impoverished. We have the
Interesting.
highest poverty rate and the highest WellCare cases in the nation are right in California.
Interesting. Thank you for clarifying my perception, you know, because perception is more important than the fact. Again, another incredible series by George Miller, and this is Peter Godinez, your ambassador with KDY TV. Until next time.